Unfortunately, we live in such a self-centered capitalistic society, and it sucks because it trains us to prioritize work and money above all else, even friendships, even being there for other people. And then again, it creates this culture where people are like, oh, I don't want to bother them. They're probably busy.
This is Pokimane, one of the biggest streamers in the world. If you somehow don't know her, she's a Twitch and YouTube powerhouse who's been around for almost as long as live streaming itself, with an estimated net worth north of $6 million. What you're about to look at isn't some random clip taken out of context or a single bad take that went viral. This is a pattern that's been playing out for years, a long trail of contradictions between the image she presents publicly and the reality behind the scenes. When you zoom out, it starts to say less about one streamer and more about something much bigger: how massive influencer wealth quietly reshapes behavior, incentives, and authenticity, even for creators who built their brand on being relatable. Hi, I'm the Internet Anarchist. I create weekly YouTube documentaries, and today we'll be covering the endless hypocrisies of Pokimane. To understand why people bought into Pokimane so hard, you have to rewind to the beginning. Long before brand deals, headlines, and leaked earnings spreadsheets, she built herself as the definition of approachable, the down-to-earth gamer girl, someone who felt normal in a space that, at the time, really wasn't. Early Twitch was a very different ecosystem. The platform was dominated by hardcore gaming communities, StarCraft streams, esports grinders, and personalities that leaned heavily into niche internet culture. There were far fewer women streaming back then, and even fewer who were able to break through into the mainstream. So when Pokimane showed up, playing games casually, chatting with viewers, and presenting herself as friendly and relatable, it stood out immediately. For a lot of people, she felt accessible in a way most streamers didn't.
Oh, are you okay?
I'm sick right now.
God bless.
God bless.
Wow, thank you.
Now, let's be honest, a huge portion of that audience, both now and then, was absolutely parasocial. Some viewers were clearly projecting fantasies onto her and reading way more into the interactions than was healthy. But that part almost doesn't matter. What mattered was the image being presented. The persona was someone humble, grateful, and grounded. Someone who just happened to be blowing up online. Pokimane leaned into that image consistently. Over time, she also adopted progressive politics and anti-corporate messaging that resonated strongly with her younger audience. She talked about fairness, ethics, and responsibility in the influencer space. And to be fair, this wasn't an act that suddenly appeared later. Even early on, she framed herself as socially conscious and values-driven. In that sense, her views haven't really shifted. What changed was her position. One of the biggest trust-building elements from that era was how she reacted to money. Old streams show her visibly shocked when someone donated a large amount. She would double check, ask if they were serious, and sometimes even tell people that they didn't need to do that.
What the fuck?
Hey guys, hope you had a good New Year's, Maine, and I hope 2017 will be a great year. Glad to be a part of the Poke Squad.
Oh my god! What the heck?
Again, yes, a lot of those donors were likely emotionally attached viewers. That dynamic existed, but her reaction still came across as genuine. It looked like someone who wasn't used to that level of wealth and didn't take it for granted. Then there's the moment from December 2019 that really sums everything up. She's browsing Louis Vuitton, reacting live, when a viewer drops a $2,020 donation. At the time, people found it funny and endearing. The optics were perfect. A streamer shocked by a big donation while casually looking at luxury items. It felt ironic in a harmless way.
Oh, this is so cool that it moves. Their website is really good, I won't lie.
Because it's almost 2020.
You said it for me, dude. Oh, I got a little bit of a oopsie. I got a little bit of a tear. Jeez Louise, what? That's a lot of money. Are you sure you want to give that much money?
Looking back, it hits differently. By that point, her financial reality was already far removed from the image. She had openly turned down a single sponsorship deal worth around $3 million, which quietly told everyone that money was no longer something she had to chase. Later on, the Twitch leak confirmed that she made around $1.5 million from Twitch alone between 2019 and 2021. That number didn't include donations, sponsorships, YouTube revenue, or business ventures, just platform payouts. By any reasonable standard, she was already deep into the top tier of internet wealth, and yet the persona barely shifted. The same wide-eyed reactions, the same framing herself as an average creator navigating success in real time, the same down-to-earth presentation that originally earned trust years earlier. That growing distance between perception and reality is the key point. Even back then, the money was flowing fast, while the image stayed frozen in a much earlier version of her career. And that gap is where every controversy that comes later really lives. In May of 2021, a tweet from Pokimane's alt account slipped through the cracks and ended up saying a lot more than it probably meant to. The tweet read, "Capitalism rewards psychotic behavior." This was coming from Pokimane, someone whose entire rise is a case study in consumer capitalism working perfectly. She didn't stumble into wealth by accident. Her career was built on subscriptions, donations, sponsorships, ad revenue, brand partnerships, and platform algorithms designed to maximize profit. The same system she criticized is the reason she became a multi-millionaire in the first place, which made the tweet feel deeply disconnected from reality. That disconnect became even harder to ignore after interviews surfaced where she openly admitted, or at least jokingly alluded to, spending up to $100,000 a year on Starbucks and Uber Eats alone.
I'm kind of crazy to you, but for me, like, there really isn't a massive difference between like even like 200K and 300K. Because at the end of the month, like you have enough to splurge on yourself when you want to. You have enough to pay.
For Starbucks, yeah.
Dude, I'm
That's
so sorry.
$100,000 a year in itself.
That detail stuck with people because it highlighted just how far removed her lifestyle was from the average viewer she was supposedly speaking alongside. Criticizing capitalism hits differently when you are benefiting from its conveniences at an extreme level. The public reaction was predictable. People started pointing out that she is functionally a walking advertisement. Her streams promote platforms, products, and brands by default. Even her existence online generates value for corporations. Her wealth is not abstract. It comes directly from millions of viewers across the globe consuming her content, engaging with her image, and buying into the ecosystem surrounding her. I understand you can critique something you've benefited from, but you're practically the corporate favorite to place ads on, along with other family-friendly streamers, or used to push merchandise. So you're not just benefiting, you're in bed with it. Funny you say that, after you have been using capitalism to your advantage ever since you started streaming and making millions of dollars a year from sponsors, and different brands, and your merch, and YouTube videos, and all the subs and donations you get. But whatever. Despite this, Pokimane would try refuting the claims that she spent $100K a year on Uber Eats and Starbucks. Replying to a now deleted tweet from Scarce, she said, "I definitely don't spend anywhere near $100K a year on Starbucks, nor do I earn $80K per stream, nor do I own a mansion or any property. News is really slow, but there's a lot of clickbait headlines, and I really don't appreciate you spreading misinformation like this." At the time though, the situation was easy to brush off. Another tweet, another discourse cycle. She clarified, people argued, and the internet moved on. No lasting damage and no serious consequence. But looking back, this moment quietly laid the groundwork for everything that followed. It established a familiar rhythm. Say something that signals progressive awareness, get praised by fans who already agree, get called out by critics who point out the hypocrisy, let the conversation burn itself out, and repeat. Whether intentional or not, this pattern keeps attention on her without requiring content to fundamentally change. And that's where things get interesting. If you actually watch her streams, there isn't much spectacle. A lot of it is just casual chatting, reacting to videos, eating food, or filling time with her audience. The core appeal isn't innovation or production value, it's the persona, the friendly, relatable gamer girl that viewers feel connected to. Moments like the capitalism tweet add spice to that formula. They reinforce the idea that she's thoughtful, grounded, and on the side of everyday people, even when the reality doesn't line up. And while she may be the last person who needs to denounce capitalism, saying it anyway helps preserve the illusion that she's still just one of them. By November 2023, the gap between Pokimane's image and reality finally stopped being subtle. That's when she launched Myna Cookies, a snack brand that was supposed to be the next evolution of her ethical, thoughtful creator persona. On paper, it sounded harmless. A streamer launches cookies. Influencers do this kind of thing all the time. The problem was everything that came with it. The pricing alone raised eyebrows immediately. Myna Cookies were sold at $28 for a 4-pack. Each bag was about 4 ounces, which works out to be roughly $7 per bag. That already felt steep for cookies, but things escalated quickly once people started digging deeper. Internet users discovered that the cookies were nearly identical to Tootsie Midnight Mini Cookies, a product that had previously been sold at Costco for $9.99 per 14-ounce bag. When you break that down, the difference is hard to ignore. Myna Cookies were effectively a rebranded version of an existing product sold at dramatically higher prices. The markup landed somewhere around 247%. The only meaningful change was the addition of vitamin D3 and new packaging. That was it. Same base ingredients, same concept, but vastly different cost. This is where the controversy could have stayed focused on pricing and transparency. Instead, it blew up because of how Pokimane responded. At first, she would respond to people saying it was just a rebrand, saying, "The batch we're currently shipping were made 3 weeks ago. The cookies they are being compared to were also made by our manufacturer, Creation Foods, which specializes in healthy food. The compared cookies had 1 test batch sold before they were retired. Months later, we partnered with Creation Foods and fell in love with the flavor profile of the Midnight Cookie. We then decided to work together to refine and improve the formula, and we're really happy with the final product." When fans started questioning why the cookies were so expensive, she didn't explain sourcing costs or defend quality. She mocked them. She referred to critics as broke boys and idiots, openly laughing at the idea that people might find her product unaffordable.
It's 4 bags. That's $7 a bag. I know math is hard. Like, if you're a broke boy, just say so. Anyway.
That moment changed everything. This was a multi-millionaire publicly ridiculing her own audience, many of whom are young and working class, for not being able to afford influencer cookies, the same audience that helped fund her lifestyle through subscriptions, donations, and views. The optics were impossible to defend. The marketing around the product only made it worse. Pokimane claimed she had spent 2 years perfecting the recipe. That statement became hard to take seriously once the ingredient lists were compared side to side. The similarities were overwhelming to say the least. What was framed as a carefully crafted passion project looked far more like a licensing deal with a fresh coat of influencer branding. Then there was shipping. Customers had to spend at least $56 just to qualify for free shipping. That meant buying multiple packs of cookies at already inflated prices just to avoid additional fees. For many fans, the entire experience felt engineered to extract as much money as possible while pretending to be creator-friendly and community-focused. After the backlash grew too loud to ignore, Pokimane issued an apology. On the surface, it checked the usual boxes. She said she worded things poorly, she expressed regret, and she acknowledged that she could have handled it better. While what I said was 100% intended to be a joke, I see why it came off as insensitive, and I apologize for that. I also understand the current price of the cookies may be expensive for some, and promise we'll continue to consider pricing to keep Myna as affordable as possible. I also want to clarify that this was said towards one rude chatter. I did not at all intend for it to be a general statement or towards my community. The sincerity of that apology didn't last very long. Not long after, during a Black Friday sale, she joked on stream about how the sale was not for broke boys. The same language, the same dismissive tone. Any illusion that the apology represented real reflection disappeared instantly. It became clear that the apology was about damage control, not accountability.
How are the cookies going? Good. I don't know if you guys saw, but we're doing a promotion today. It is not a broke boys Black Friday sale. Okay. It is, if you buy a pack of 8 or 12, you get a free hat. It's a really cute hat. I have one. But yeah, in case anyone was interested.
She really loves calling people broke. Honestly, without her chat or anyone, she would be broke and struggling. She would not be where she is now if it wasn't for her chat. She's honestly a bad person, I don't care what anyone says. There's one last detail that really ties this whole thing together, and it's where Myna Cookies is today, which is nowhere. Trying to go to the website leads to a 404 error, and apparently it's been permanently shut down. No announcement, no explanation, no follow-up stream, no tweet thanking supporters or addressing what went wrong. At some point after the backlash, Myna Cookies just stopped existing. The website went down, social media went silent. The product vanished as if it was never supposed to be there in the first place. But this divide between creators and their audience isn't just a streaming problem, it's a business problem. The bigger you get, the harder it is to keep everything running smoothly. And that's where today's sponsor comes in. Big thanks to Odoo for sponsoring this segment. Odoo is an all-in-one management platform that brings everything together. Invoicing, accounting, project management, inventory, website creation, and more, all on a single platform. So instead of juggling 10 disconnected tools, everything talks to each other and your data stays in one place. What makes it stand out is how intuitive it is. You don't need a tech team to set up, and it scales with you. Start with one app and add more as your business grows. It automates the repetitive stuff like follow-ups and workflows so you can focus on the actual work. And it's configured to your location, so taxes, currencies, and local regulations are handled automatically. Your first Odoo app is free for life, including hosting and support. And you can unlock the full suite for less than €20 a month. Click the link below to try out Odoo today. For a brand that was supposedly 2 years in the making, the silence is incredibly loud. This wasn't framed as an experiment or a limited run. It was marketed as a serious business venture, one that fans were encouraged to support at premium prices. By April 2025, the contrast had become almost impossible to ignore. Pokimane was in Paris, and this time she wasn't hiding anything. She posted her own footage, TikToks, stream clips, casual vlogs, the kind of content that's meant to feel fun and aspirational, but ends up telling a much bigger story if you just let it play out. The clips show her bouncing between luxury stores like Louis Vuitton, Dior, and Chanel. And not just browsing either. She's discussing Lady Dior bags, weighing color options, sitting in quiet lounges, while staff bring things out like it's routine. This wasn't a special occasion to splurge, it was just another trip. And then, mid-trip, she goes live and starts talking about wealth disparity. On stream, Pokimane starts ranting about how bad wealth inequality is getting. She talks about how people hate the rich, how the gap keeps widening, how frustrating it all feels. It's the kind of speech you've heard 1,000 times online, but this time it's happening while she's actively documenting luxury shopping sprees in Paris. Then her friend Jason chimes in and points out the obvious. He reminds her that she's rich too. There's a pause, and then you can almost hear the gears turning. She immediately pivots. She says she didn't mean rich people like her, she meant the ultra-rich, the billionaires.
Men and women, we love each other.
Facts.
And we hate the rich. Anyway. Too much.
Aren't you the rich?
No! Like the ultra-rich, the ultra-giga-rich, the
You have to
unnecessarily
clarify.
rich.
They're gonna clip that and it's gonna make you look bad.
Oh.
You
the
gotta say
ultra-giga-rich.
the billionaires.
The billionaires.
Because you are rich.
The Bezos.
You can't be saying that.
I am. I'm rich in friendship.
Yes.
What makes this moment land harder is the context from just weeks earlier. On stream, Pokimane had openly said that Google's estimate of her $6 million net worth was wrong and too low. She didn't give an exact number, but she made it clear that it was significantly higher. She also acknowledged that she earns enough to fall into the 50% tax bracket in California.
The thing is, I'm taxed 50% every single year that I've lived here, so
6 million? That's not enough.
that's incorrect.
That's low.
Is that recent?
This is 20. This is
Okay,
4
low is
days
crazy.
ago.
6 million is not.
I mean that's low for you, is what I mean.
He said 6 million. That's low.
Twitch contract. You think Twitch will hand me a contract?
They don't do it anymore.
Damn.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
That's not a vague flex, that's a very specific level of income. At that point, there's really nothing left to interpret. This is someone firmly planted in the top 1 to 2% globally. Someone with the freedom to fly to Paris, shop at Dior, and casually documented for millions of people. And in the middle of that, she's talking about how bad wealth disparity is, and how much we hate the rich. By January 2026, the capitalism rant wasn't a surprise anymore, it was a rerun. That month, Pokimane posted a video criticizing what she called capitalistic society. She talked about how people are trained from a young age to prioritize work and money over everything else.
Fortunately, we live in such a self-centered capitalistic society. And it sucks because it trains us to prioritize work and money above all else, even friendships, even being there for other people. And then again, it creates this culture where people are like, oh, I don't want to bother them. They're probably busy. Oh, I've heard so many people discuss this, in order to have a village, you need to be a villager. I think that's really true. Like, if you want people to be there for you when you need it, you gotta be there for them when they need it. But it's also annoying to even have to like convince someone to be there for you so you can be there for them. It's like, it's a whole myriad of things.
On its own, that message is familiar and honestly pretty mainstream online. What made it explode was everything surrounding it. Visually, the clip was almost parody level. Sitting front and center on her microphone was a designer Labubu toy. Around her were luxury items clearly visible on camera. The background looked like a high-end home, the kind of space most people will never step foot in, let alone own. The aesthetic screamed wealth while the message tried to distance itself from it. The internet did what it always does and started connecting the dots. People began compiling lists: the mansion, the designer clothes, the Paris shopping sprees, the $28 cookies, the 5-figure shopping trips, the Starbucks and Uber Eats spending, the sponsorships, the brand deals, the constant monetization laid on top of a speech about how money shouldn't matter so much. This time, it stuck. Unlike earlier moments, people weren't reacting to a single tweet or an offhand comment. They were reacting to a pattern they already watched play out for years. The January 2026 clip brought it all together in one place. The words and the visuals were in direct conflict, and there was no easy way to spin it. What really changed the tone was the response. In the past, criticism like this could be dismissed as bad faith or jealousy. This time, even neutral viewers could see it. You didn't need to hate her to notice the disconnect. You just had to look at the frame. This was the moment where a lot of people stopped calling these incidents mistakes, and negative tweets reacting to this would amount tens of thousands of likes and replies agreeing with the sentiment. Why is it always rich people talking about this kind of stuff? People are literally struggling to buy meals and pay their rent right now, and you're over here selling cookies for $28, complaining people aren't there for you. Girl, grow up. Lives in a mansion, wears designer clothes, calls her viewers broke boys, tried selling $28 bags of cookies, addressed them by saying, if you're a broke boy, just say so, bought a $12,000 engagement ring for herself to LARP, tries interacting with a working man with limited time once.
There's a problem with society.
Have you considered you might be the problem, or did the wall hit too hard? The reason this moment mattered is because it finally crystallized what people had been feeling for a long time. This wasn't about growth or self-awareness. It was about maintaining an image that no longer matched reality, even as the gap kept getting wider. At this point, the pattern is clear enough that you can almost set your watch to it. Every controversy follows the same cycle, and once you see it laid out, it becomes impossible to unsee. It always starts the same way. Step 1 is a progressive or anti-wealth statement. Capitalism is bad, the rich are the problem, society prioritizes money too much. These talking points land perfectly with a young online audience that already feels squeezed and frustrated. Step 2 follows immediately. People point out the contradiction, they bring up the mansion, the designer shopping, the 7-figure earnings, and the luxury lifestyle that directly clashes with the message being preached. That's when step 3 kicks in, deflection. Critics critics get dismissed as haters, jealous, or bad faith. Sometimes the argument quietly shifts. Sometimes the language tightens, which leads directly into the most reliable fallback defense she uses every time, the not that rich argument. Over and over, Pokimane reframes the conversation as millionaires versus billionaires. The implication that wealth only becomes morally relevant once you cross into the 9 or 10 figures. Anyone below that line gets grouped in with regular people just doing fine. The problem is that this framing collapses under even basic scrutiny. To the overwhelming majority of people, someone worth anywhere from $6 to $20 million is extraordinarily wealthy. The average American earns roughly $1.7 million over their entire lifetime before taxes. That means that her net worth represents 3 to 12 full lifetimes of work for a normal person. There is no meaningful way to describe that as anything other than rich. After the deflection works and attention fades away, step 4 happens quietly. She goes right back to the luxury lifestyle, designer hauls, expensive trips, brand deals, and monetized content. Nothing materially changes. And then, inevitably, step 5 arrives. The cycle repeats. Another statement, more backlash, and another reset. Other creators noticed this too, and their reactions only highlighted how divided the space is. XQC questioned the idea that being wealthy automatically makes someone bad, pushing back on the moral framing entirely.
And you somehow get richer, you're automatically bad? You know what, chat? I think this is like some brain rot. I mean, no disrespect, it's all good. I'm not mad at Poki or anything.
Sneeko went in the opposite direction, calling her completely out of touch and disconnected from reality.
This is such a capitalistic society. Oh, bro, this is like 100K right here. This is like 100 bands right here. This is such a materialistic. We need to eat the rich. We need to eat the rich.
Meanwhile, Hassan defended her, which critics quickly pointed out meant one multi-millionaire was defending another. The optics did not help.
I think it's because of the closeness that most streamers have to being normal people at a certain point in their lives, as opposed to like a guy who's been a multi-billionaire for the past decade or so. Most streamers have a much nicer and much better understanding of what it used to be like when they didn't have fucking money, and therefore have takes like this. You want rich people to have takes like this. It's very fucking annoying that people yell at rich people that have takes like this.
The unnecessarily
You have to clarify. They're gonna clip that and it's gonna make you look bad.
Oh.
You gotta say the billionaires.
The billionaires.
Because you are rich.
The Bezos.
You can't be.
I mean, he was right, and they did clip it, regardless. This is literally her being less dumb than everyone else in the room, explaining the difference between millionaires and the ultra-rich who control the country even out of office is so stupid. No, you don't understand, brother. You don't understand. It's actually Pokimane that is responsible for the disparity of wealth in this country.
This is where the idea of luxury beliefs becomes important. These are progressive sounding positions that cost the speaker nothing. They signal virtue, they generate approval, they resonate emotionally with a young audience, but they never require sacrifice. There is no redistribution, no loss of comfort, no structural change. The politics live at the level of aesthetics, not material consequences. That disconnect creates something worse than simple hypocrisy. It creates parasocial betrayal. Streamers grow their audiences by selling authenticity. They sell the feeling of closeness, relatability, and shared values. Viewers are encouraged to feel like they are supporting a friend. When the mask slips, those viewers realize the relationship was always transactional. Their money funded a lifestyle they are now mocked for being unable to afford. This hits especially hard for her audience. Gen Z and young millennials are dealing with record housing costs, crushing student debt, and stagnant wages. Many of them supported her financially when they had far less. For that same group to be brushed off as broke boys by someone they helped elevate is a specific kind of insult. In the end, it mirrors the classic champagne socialist archetype: progressive rhetoric paired with elite living, sympathy without solidarity, and a growing distance from the very people the message claims to stand for. Before wrapping this up, it's worth being very clear that this is not a moral judgment about wealth itself. No one is saying Pokimane is evil for being rich, or that she should apologize for succeeding. She built a massive career, played the game well, and made a lot of money doing it. That part is undeniable, and it's not the issue. The issue is the disconnect, the repeated gap between what she says publicly and how she lives privately. A gap that hasn't appeared once or twice, but consistently over the past 5 years. When something happens that contradicts the image, it gets brushed off, reframed, or forgotten, only for the cycle to start again. Zooming out, this isn't really just about her anymore. She's simply the most visible example of a much larger problem baked into influencer culture itself. The influencer economy rewards relatability above all else. The closer a creator feels to their audience, the more powerful their brand becomes. The problem is that success in that system almost guarantees eventual distance. You can't remain financially elite while staying socially grounded in the same way. At some point, the lifestyle changes faster than the persona does. Influencers are encouraged to keep selling authenticity long after it stops being true. The audience still gets the language of struggle, fairness, and shared frustration, while the reality behind the camera looks nothing like that experience anymore. Over time, that mismatch turns into resentment, confusion, and eventually backlash. That's why each new controversy hits harder than the last. People are not reacting to isolated comments, they're reacting to a pattern they've watched repeat itself for years. Each new anti-wealth rant lands a little flatter, because viewers already know what comes next. Nothing changes, the lifestyle continues, the messaging resets. At this point, Pokimane occupies a strange and uncomfortable role. She is the rich person criticizing the rich, the capitalist benefiting from the system while condemning it, the relatable streamer whose life has become completely out of reach for the people who built her platform. Until that cycle breaks in a meaningful way, every new statement about inequality, capitalism, or wealth will feel less like reflection and more like branding. And for an audience that once believed in the authenticity of it all, that hollowness is impossible to ignore.